So you want to get into fermentation, but you don't know where to start. Well, I'm going to show you the perfect starter project to help you begin your fermentation adventure. I'm talking about sauerkraut. And today on Make Kimchi Not War, I'm going to show you how to make easy, basic sauerkraut. Let's begin right now. So let me show you the ingredients of simple sauerkraut. First of all, you're going to need a cabbage. This is just green cabbage. I'm sure you've seen those at the grocery store. So get you a green cabbage. And I've removed a couple of the outer leaves. We're going to save those and we'll use those later. I'll show you how. And you're going to need some kind of salt. Now it's important that the salt be non-iodized, so you shouldn't use table salt because that has iodine. You see, iodine is it kills germs, and we don't want to kill the germs. We want to cause the germs to grow. So this is kosher salt. It has no iodine. It has no other weird ingredients. You can use kosher salt, use table salt. People get all exotic with pink Himalayan salt and gray Celtic sea salt, but just regular old kosher salt will do the trick. Just make sure you read the label. Make sure it has no strange ingredients, anti-caking agents, and that kind of thing, and you'll be fine. And that's really all you need to make sauerkraut. However, you can add flavoring to it as well. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to put some caraway seeds. That's more or less traditional for sauerkraut. And that's about a tablespoon. And I'm going to put some yellow mustard seeds in there. That's a couple of teaspoons of yellow mustard seed. Now you can flavor it any way you like. Some people like to put dill in it, dill seed, and that makes a great dill pickle tasting sauerkraut. You can put turmeric in it. You can put, the sky's the limit, whatever you like. But today we're going to stick with simple, straightforward sauerkraut. Now you're also going to need some pieces of equipment. And one of the things you're going to need is a large bowl that you can mix your sauerkraut, your vegetables in. You're going to need you don't need it, but I highly recommend a kitchen scale. This will help in determining how much salt, and I'll show you how that works later. And you're also going to need one of these. You don't really need it, but it's a great help. And this is a pickle packer or a muddler, and I will put a link below to show you where I got this and where you can get these. So that's all there is to it. We're going to begin by processing our cabbage and just go from there. And basically what you want to do with your cabbage is first of all cut it into quarters. So cut it. Alright. Then you're going to want to remove this hard core here. It's not very pleasant to eat, and so we're going to remove the core. All 4 pieces. Then we're going to slice our cabbage into thin slices, and I just basically go in there with a kitchen knife and start slicing. You want it thin. Some people use a mandolin for this. Some people use a shredder blade on a food processor, but I just go in and cut it. What you want is this nice thin, strips of cabbage. We have it all sliced up and in our bowl. And you know, you don't have to just have cabbage. You could put other ingredients in it. I sometimes will put carrots in my sauerkraut. And I've got another video of curtido, which is a Central American version of sauerkraut that has a lot more ingredients in it. Look at that. Video when you have the chance. It just show you that you could use different stuff. So next we're going to want to salt the cabbage. And this is what we use our kitchen scale for. The way we go about determining how much salt to use, we weigh our veg. There we go. We got 1,594 grams. And this bowl, I already know, weighs 218 grams. Tear that. And here's where my salt goes in. 94 minus 218. So I've got 1,376 grams of cabbage. And to figure out how much salt, you want 2%. 2.5% is usually what's recommended for sauerkraut. And the way we calculate that is to multiply the weight of our cabbage by 0.02. And that gives us 27.5. So I'm just going to add 28 grams of salt, and that will give us a 2% salt concentration. Now this would be 24, 26, 28. Perfect. All right. 28 grams of salt. Now I just add my salt to my cabbage. I'm going to put a little bit in, stir it up a little bit. Get things mixed up. All right, a little bit more. Now this is also a good time to add any flavorings you're going to put in it. So this is my tablespoon of caraway seeds and my 2 teaspoons of mustard seed. And I just basically, first of all, want to mix it all in so everything's fully mixed. Alright, that looks pretty good. Now, this is the fun part of making sauerkraut because it's a good way to work off your frustrations. If there's somebody that's really bugging you or whatever, think about them and then you just start. What I'm doing here is I'm massaging the cabbage trying to break down those cell walls and mix in the salt and begin releasing some of the moisture. When you're making sauerkraut, it's a self-brining process. I don't have to add any brine to this. It will make its own. Now, if you're really frustrated and you really want to work out some frustrations, you get your muddler and you really go to town. Okay, so I've been doing this about 5 minutes, and as you can probably see, the cabbage is already starting to look a little softer, a little bruised, and that's exactly what we want. Now I'm going to set it aside for maybe half an hour or so and allow the brine to develop and to collect, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, so it's been about half an hour, and as you can see, maybe you can, see there's some moisture gathering in the bottom. That's our brine, and it will make more brine as time goes on. But we're ready to pack this into the jar. So let me show you how to do that. Okay, so the jar we're going to use is this 2-quart mason jar. Just bought this from Target, I think, but you can get them a lot of places. And all we need to do is just take our jar, and we're going to start stuffing our cabbage in the jar. Now we want to push this down. We want to get it all nice and compact in the jar. To accomplish that, we get our pickle packer out. All right. Press it all down. Get the rest of this in there. Going to want to make sure we get all that brine in there too. We went through all the trouble of making that brine. So we want to make sure it gets in to our sauerkraut. Now, I'm not sure you can see this, but as I push down on it with the muddler, you can see the brine come up. One of the important things about fermenting is that you want all of your vegetables underneath the brine, because lactofermentation is an anaerobic process. That means it takes place outside of the presence of oxygen. And the way we accomplish that is by making sure that all of our material is underneath the brine, and under the brine is an anaerobic environment. And so here's where these leaves that we save come in. Usually what I do is, excuse me, I just cut a big circle. And nasty down here. And we're going to use this to hold our cabbage down, and make sure that no little loose bits get up, because those pieces of whatever, herbs or cabbage that float up above the brine can induce mold. So kind of put this down as sort of a cover, sort of a seal, I guess you could think. I'm going to put another one in. Now, to make sure everything stays down, we want to weight that down. What I use are these glass weights. I'll put a link in the description where I got those, but I think you can probably find them on Amazon. And then we cap it off. But first of all, this is it's called a pickle pipe. It's a silicone disc. It has this little nipple thing on the top, and its function is to allow the CO2 to release. As your sauerkraut ferments, it will produce CO2. And that CO2 has to have a place to go. So the pickle pipe allows the CO2 to escape, but doesn't allow any oxygen to enter and cause mold. So we put that on, and that way we don't have to worry about burping it. Sometimes if you seal these up tight with a regular lid, then you have to burp it. Otherwise, the pressure gets too high, it can actually explode. And then I found these plastic rings. I used to use the regular metal rings that come with the jars that you get for canning, but I found that in the salty environment, they tend to corrode. And so I use these rings. Again, I think the brand name is Mason Top, but I think you can find those as well on Amazon. Just search for Mason Top, and if I can find the link to that, I'll put the link on that. Put the link on the pickle pipe. But once again, search Amazon for pickle pipes, and you'll probably be able to find all of this stuff. So then I'll take this and I'll put it back in my fermentation room, i.e. back porch, and I'll let it ferment for anywhere from 10 days to 2 weeks. Usually about 10 days is the sweet spot for me. That's where I like it. Some people ferment their sauerkraut for months, and you can certainly do that, and they swear that it develops deeper depth of flavor and all of that, and maybe that's true, but for me, after 10 days or 2 weeks, it tastes fine. In about a week, though, I'll check it, I'll taste it and see how it tastes and see how much longer I want it to ferment. I'll check it every day to make sure that everything is below the brine. Now it looks like there's not very much brine here. You can see a lot of stuff is above the brine. But in the next 24 hours or so, this cabbage will make a lot more brine, and it'll fill the jar up. So we'll let this ferment. We'll come back in 10 days, 2 weeks, and we'll try it out.